Hello, grace-filled morning. A warm welcome to Maritime and Port News. Maritime and Port News is proudly sponsored by the Ghana Shippers Authority. They provide you with the best in oil shipping solutions. You can contact them at the Shippers House in Accra. You can also join us live on YouTube on Omanfm and on Facebook on 2TVGH. Tune in to Omanfm in Kumasi for more Maritime and Port News. My name is Boateng. Let's take a look at our stories this morning. The Ghana Port and Harbours Authority GPHA anticipates a possible drop between 20 to 25% of cargo berths at the port this year, especially cargoes that come into the country from Russia-Ukraine regions. GPHA Director General Michael Luguje stated that data gathered from shippers indicate that due to the effect of the Russia-Ukraine war, cargo traffic into the country would dip as about 25% of wheat and fertilizer import to the country were from Ukraine and Russia. Michael Luguje spoke in an interview with Maritime and Port News during the 7th meeting of the Port Management Association of Western Central Africa, PIMOCA, Harbour Masters and Port Facility Security Officers in Tema. The three-day meeting brought together port management, harbour masters and port security officers from Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia and Senegal, amongst others in West and Central Africa, to share ideas, identify common port challenges and adapt holistic measures to mitigate them. The GPHA Director General, who is also the president of PIMOCA, called on importers to look for alternative places to import from, acknowledging, however, that sourcing from other places come with additional costs, which would obviously lead to a reduction in quantities to import. He emphasized the need for port operators also to be resilient in their planning by factoring in the risk of the extreme opposite of the current situation. The GPHA director also charged port operators to develop a strategic plan and adapt measures in terms of cost planning, share ideas, identify common port challenges, and adapt holistic measures to mitigate them. The GPHA situation is to develop a strategic plan and adapt measures in terms of cost planning, prudent management of revenue, and all the other remote resources, including technology usage, to ensure efficient operations. Michael Luguje also called for prudent effort to maximize the use of fossil fuel and power and encouraged port operators to consider investment in wind power, as well as develop an interest in electronic vehicles, among others.
I use just wheat as one of the key commodities that came from the shippers themselves. The information they are giving to us is that represents between 20 to 25% of where they were importing from Ukraine and Russia, fertilizer. So if they now have to look for alternative sources of supply, and that is not a very easy thing. So they themselves have issues as to that. And if you are going to alternative sources, you probably will be importing at a higher cost, which will force you to reduce the quantities you would have ordinarily imported. So for now, we are as anticipating that we might have drops to up to about 20 to 25% in those bulk cargoes that are coming from those regions. But we need to inch close to the year and really be able to measure the true numbers in terms of what is going to drop.
You heard the Director General of the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, Michael Luguje. In other stories, the International Air Transport Association IATA says Ghana and other African countries must urgently put in place large-scale incentives to encourage the production and use of sustainable aviation fuels. In 2021, airlines purchased every drop of the 125 liters of sustainable aviation fuels that was available, irrespective of the fact that SAF was between 2 and 4 times the price of conventional jet fuel. Airlines have also entered into $17 billion of forward purchasing agreement for SAF. Waste and residue raw materials are currently used in the production of SAF, while the use of vegetable oils, agriculture and forest harvesting waste and residue and municipal solid waste, among others, according to experts, are viable raw materials. In Ghana and many West African countries, the raw materials for SAF production, such as cooking oil, plant oils, wood chips, municipal waste, waste gases and agricultural residue, are largely available. IATA's Director General Willie Walsh, interacting with African journalists attending the just-ended 78th IATA AGM in Doha, called for investment in the technology by African government to benefit from the $17 billion market. He said there are more than 100 oil marketing companies in Ghana, and the majority state-owned GOIL and all other import oil of Ghana's jet fuels, despite the extent of the Tema oil refinery, for use by domestic, regional and international airlines servicing the Kotoka International Airport. Mr. Walsh noted that given the projected demand for SAF in the next 10 to 20 years, it is a huge investment opportunity for African countries because there is no risk here. Airline industry needs sustainable fuel. It is the only way we can achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. If you just join us, you're listening to Maritime and Port News. An analysis by Jury indicates that the number of smart containers in the global fleet is set to explode in the coming years as operators and cargo owners seek to increase cargo visibility amid disrupted supply chain and congestion. It says the fleet of telematics-enabled container equipment, aka smart container, is forecast to grow 8-fold over the next 5 years and account for 25% of the global box fleet by 2026. The growth will primarily be driven by wider adoption of the technology across the dry container fleet. According to Drury, smart containers have increased in prominence following the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and resulting supply chain disruption, which has heightened the need for better cargo visibility to cope with longer and more volatile transit times. The pace of adoption is, however, expected to accelerate rapidly in the years ahead. In our final story, following a spike in containers lost at sea, the World Shipping Council, WSC, the Global Liner Association, has initiated a study to see how the scourge can be prevented. The WSC's Container Lost at Sea report, covering 2020 and 2021, shows that container lost overboard represents less than 1,000 of 1%. However, the past 2 years have seen a worrying break in the downward trend for losses, with the average number of containers lost at sea per year since the start of the survey increasing by 18% to 1,629. The winter of 2020 and 2021 saw an unusually high number of weather-related incidents, and the average losses for the 2-year period, that's 2020 and 2021, were 3,113 compared to 779 in the previous period, with the most high-profile event being the one Appa's vessel, whose battered image on returning to port in Japan made headlines around the world. WSC's new project will run over 3 years and will use scientific analysis, studies and desktop, as well as real-time measurement and data collection to develop and polish specific actionable recommendation to reduce the risk of containers lost overboard. Initial results from the study show that paramedics rolling in following seas is especially hazardous for container vessels, a phenomenon that is not well known and can develop unexpectedly with severe consequences. To help in preventing further incidents, a notice to mariners has been developed describing how container vessel crew and operational staff can plan, recognize, and act to prevent parametric rolling in following seas. Many more topics, test and measurement will be undertaken by the project, which will continue reporting on progress and sharing insight on a regular basis during the International Maritime Organization IMO and other forums. On this note, we'll wrap up this morning's edition of Maritime and Port News, proudly sponsored by the Ghana Shippers Authority. They provide you with the best in oil shipping solutions. Contact them at the Shippers House in Accra. I am Nanesi Boateng, my producer, Kwikwa Boachi. Have a great day.
Yensu akwan suju medie hia mo man bia ankankro edi Ghana eku wiase na di wiase so ba Ghana Shippers Authority ani so ade huno ne se ye bebo nsuo so adwadifo e wo haw bia wonam mu efri no ma ayra dia seye sika yaji wa emfa kwan so eni haw ahodo pi ye nya daje